Hello, welcome to Scrap Time. My name's Christine, and in this video I'm going to be showing you the Tonic Studios Showcase die set for June, and I'm going to be giving you a bunch of tips on using it, and then at the end of the video I have some other projects I made using the die set. So first off, this is what the die set looks like, and you may be like, what does it make? That's a great question. It makes this beautiful box. So I'll just put it up. You can see it's a box, but then I'll twist it around for you and you can see how beautiful all this intricate die work is. The box is 3.5 by 3.5 inches by 6 inches tall, so it's quite large. You should be able to put lots of different gifts in it. And that is our box. So I'm going to show you some tips though on making this box. So the first thing, I'm going to pull off the main die. This is the die, and it is quite large. So the first thing I want to talk about is paper size. So European paper sizes are slightly different than North American paper sizes, and you can see that it fits perfectly on a European paper size. However, in North America, we generally go with 8.5 by 11, and you can see the size difference here. Their paper size is a little longer, ours is a tiny bit wider. So when you put the die on, it comes up a little short. But all that does is, here on the bottom, it just makes it a little shorter. So if you only have 8.5 by 11 paper, don't worry about it, because you're just not going to match it up right to the edge. It'll just be that little lip, and because it's on the bottom, nobody will even notice it. So the next thing you may also say is this is a huge die. Now I personally only have a big shot, which is 6 inches wide, and this die is larger than 6 inches wide. But because it's a basic shape, I was able to cut a template. I put it down on my paper, and it's so basic, you just trace it out. I put little marks of where the score lines are. And then for the inside spots, what I did was when I was ready to cut with my actual paper, I just did a pencil mark, and then just using a stylus, I was able to put score lines in. So you can see I have that shape there. So even if you don't have the really big, wide die cutting machine, you can still use this die set. It would just mean cutting out a template. But because it's such a basic shape, it really isn't that big of a deal. And once you have your template, then it's quick. You just keep tracing it and cutting it out. And that's how I made this box. I did it, I just traced and cut it out, and yet I was able to get the exact design as if I had a die cutting machine. And it really didn't take that much extra time. So the next thing I want to point out is a couple of the oval dies. You will see that one oval die has little dots and one oval die is straight. So it just gives you the option of, can you see there the little dots versus the flat? The same goes with the triangle dies. I have all my dies taped together, but this one has the dots and that one is straight. So both of the inserts fit in either one. It just gives you a different finish on the edge. Now because of that though, when it cuts, it is slightly different in size. As if I match this up here, the exterior, you will see there how it's slightly, the one with the dots is a slightly larger than the one without. And the same goes for the triangles. If I line it up. So if you cut out your base and you were trying to match it up and it doesn't match up, it's because you used solid versus the dots. So just to be aware, it makes no difference really in what you're doing, but it's just something to be conscious about. The other trick I want to share is cutting these dies. What I like to do is use the brass cutting plate from Sizzix. You'll get a nice little photo of Mark, I think, reflected in there. But you can see there's no marks on here, yet I have cut with it over and over and over again. And what I like to do is I put down my die. I'll use this one, it already has some tape on it. So I'll put down my die and then I'll get the insert and place it in, line it up. Because it has, you know, it gives you a little space but not loads, I like to just line it up, tape it on, put it down, and then you put your cutting mat over and bring it through, and then you can cut and get like the beautiful intricate dies that we've been cutting. And you only have to put it through once, because if you put it through a second time, there is the off chance that your die may shift and it won't cut beautifully. But I've had no problem cutting even these thicker papers with one go through. Move the reflecting board out of the way. Now when you are gluing this to, say, a solid back, I have two tips. One would be, before you cut it, put it on an adhesive sheet so it already has a sticker on it and you can just peel it off and stick it on. The other thing I like to use is like a collage medium, and I just used my finger and I put it on and then I flipped it over and put it off. And that way I find you get the best coverage on your die. Then when you go to adhere the dies on, while this is flat, so while you have it like this, this is when I would put in like my dies here and this triangle. And then when you glue it together, there is a seam here. You need to add one big one and one triangle on both sides. My next tip is to glue the box together. I would use a adhesive tape like this. There's different brands on the market. It doesn't have to be this one. And I find that it's just easiest to use a dry tape. It goes, you can see here where this seam is, you tape it there, and then these two spots on the bottom, you cut two of these, and all it is this gets folded over like that, and then that gets adhered to the other box. So by using a slimline tape like this, it just gives you that instant adhere versus using a wet glue. Now, if you did use a template like I did, then you'll need to punch these holes into the tops. And what I do is, after it's all glued together, I just put them in place and then I punch them at the same time, and then that way you know that they match up perfectly. And in it, there is a little tag with some words, a whole bunch of words, but the words just deboss in, and I found by inking it, it helped make the words pop a bit more, because otherwise, like especially if it's on white, you don't really see them. So by adding a bit of ink, the words pop out. So those are my tips for the box. Now I want to show you though what else I made. So here is my first little project. And so I used a lot of the oval dies, and I just made them, I cut it with, and then just the solid one, and I made this little tulip. And then I took some of my embellishments I've got from past Tonic kits, and I added some sequins on. And then this was a stamp set from a kit a couple months ago that I was able to use again and add a little sentiment onto my little cute project. So you don't always have to use a box. You can use like the pieces to make other things. Here I basically use the ovals a lot. I made a little dragonfly this time, And I used, all these papers are actually papers I also got from Tonic Kits. Tonic has a lot of really great specialty papers, so I love the textures. The holograph one was from that holiday kit I showed you, as well as the gold, and then this purple one was from a previous kit. And again, that same stamp set I used for a little message there. And then again with the ovals, I made this big flower, and then for the middle, I used some Nouveau drops from, again, a previous Tonic kit. So the great thing about getting kits and that from Tonic is you have these products that you can use over and over again on different projects. And so those are the projects I made, but I want to just give you a couple other things. You can use the ovals to form a design. You could like layer them up and form a design. Same with the triangles. You could just like layer them and you could do a design with the triangles. So as I said, there's so many, you can use all these little pieces in other projects. It doesn't just have to be to make the box. So you don't think you're stuck with just that. The box though is beautiful. It's a nice big size, but you can still make other projects with it. So that is the June Showcase from Tonic Studios and some tips on using this set. Thanks for watching. Be sure to give our video a thumbs up and subscribe to Scrap Time videos on YouTube. In the meantime, here are a couple other videos you might be interested in watching. See you next time. Bye-bye.